The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, the 2nd chapter. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least amongst the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.'" Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had first appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. Upon entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. This is the gospel of the Lord. You may be seated. One of my absolute favorite Epiphany cartoons shows three women walking into the house to greet the baby and Mary and Joseph, and they're carrying with them diapers and food and formula, and the caption underneath says, "After the three wise men left, the three wiser women arrived." This is such an important story of the birth of Christ. It comes a little bit later along in Jesus' life, contrary to cultural belief. The wise men show up many months, if not years, later. It takes them a while to travel from their location to find the child. And if you notice in Matthew's account, they arrive at a house, not at a stable. And it never really says where exactly that is. But it makes no difference, really, where they found him. Because the truth is that the importance of the story is that these magi, these wise men, these scholars from the east, from afar, come seeking the Christ child, just as the shepherds and the locals had on the night of his birth. It shows us that Jesus truly is here for all people. He's here for the shepherds, the poor, the lowly, the uneducated. And he's here for these wise men, these magi, the foreigners, the wealthy, the scholars. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or anything else. Jesus is here for everyone, no matter what. Jesus comes to break down all the walls, all the division that exists in our world. In him, every single person through all time and all places is welcome to come to the manger to seek the birth of God's grace in this world. No one is ever excluded. This is the message of Epiphany. The word epiphany itself means revelation, something that is revealed to us. This is certainly the case in this story. It is revealed to us that Jesus was not just sent to the Israelites, but to the world, to the universe, to everyone. What a beautiful revelation that is. So the question becomes, do we today, here in Elgin, Illinois, follow that same star? Do we give off that same light to the world? First of all, it is so much easier for us than it was for the Magi. Quite frankly, they had to watch the skies and chart the stars and try to decipher if that really was the one. Can you imagine the conversation? But what if we're wrong? You know, here we are today. We're taught. We know. We know that Christ is the light that we follow. It's so much easier for us. There's nothing for us to question. Simply follow the light that has come into the world. Following that light, however, in our world may just be a little bit more difficult because we're challenged on it every day. You know, once the Magi figured out that that really was the light they wanted to follow, they just followed it. And outside of King Herod, there was nobody really that stopped them. We, on the other hand, we've identified that light. We know that Christ is that light. We know that Christ is the light that shines through our hearts. And yet every day, at some level, we are challenged as to whether or not to shine that light. Sometimes we're just afraid to shine the light. What if somebody judges me? What if somebody ridicules me or criticizes me? What if I make somebody feel uncomfortable? What if I'm in the minority? So often, this tug of war takes place in our hearts. Even when we do shine that light, it often comes at some kind of a cost. Sometimes that cost is obvious, financial. Other times that cost is emotional. We have all sat with somebody that we love and care about as they've been sick and walked out feeling drained ourselves. We have all sat with somebody who has lost a loved one and left with tears flowing ourselves. Shining our light in this world is not actually that easy. And yet it's our calling. We are the ones that are to be the star that people follow in order to find Christ. That's the really cool thing about this story. You're not called upon to be the Magi. You're called upon to be the star. You're called upon to be that light that people follow. And yes, it comes with a sacrifice. It comes with a cost. But how cool is it to be a light in somebody's life? To be love and grace and peace for someone's heart. That is a revelation. We're not to be the Magi, we're to be the star, the light. That's our epiphany. We shine, no matter what the cost. One of the great things about stars in the night sky is this, that long after a star has perished and been extinguished out in the universe, we can still see its light. That is true. Long after a star has perished, we can still see its light in the night sky. Long after you are an act of God's light in the world, your light is still shining in the life of the person who received it. You may have moved on, but your light continues to shine. This is Epiphany. We are the stars, we are the light. We shine long after we act in other people's lives. We are peace. We are love. We are grace in the hearts of those we meet. People follow us because they can see God's light shining out into the world through us. The other thing that's important to note about being the star in this story is that we're leaders. People follow us. You know, we spend our lifetimes in faith talking about being followers of Christ. That is true. But the truth is that if we are really that light, if we are really the body of Christ, then people follow us as we lead out into the world. So here's your epiphany for the night. You're a star. You're God's light. And you're a leader. As the body of Christ, people will follow us. It's really quite amazing, the life that we have been called into. We're not followers that just mindlessly do things. We're givers of love and givers of grace. We lead because we shine. And with every act of love and grace, our light not only shines for a moment, shines for years to come. Be the star. Be the leader. Be an agent of love. Thanks be to God. Amen.